I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. I cut my teeth on wedding rings.
Dude, that's pretty cool.
Man, that is a sad clown.
Dude, that's pretty good.
This is The Gloom, bringing you weekly interviews with F3 Omaha packs, exploring their F3 experiences and finding those sticky elements that create the glue in the gloom.
Shout out to our sponsors. Major Team Mortgage, Omaha Laser Dentistry, Exclusively Eye Care, Liberty Core Real Estate, Avier Wealth Management, and Apex Men's Clinic. We appreciate their support.
What's it like to love your dentist? Well, you're about to find out, where healthy smiles go beyond your teeth. No drilling, no needles, and no anxiety. Relax, it's Omaha Laser Dentistry. Welcome to better. At Omaha Laser Dentistry, Dr. Bullenparty uses the Solea laser, a CO2 laser that's used in all of his day-to-day patient care. He provides thorough exams, assessments, and treatments for things like snoring, tethered tissue, and extractions like wisdom teeth, as well as other surgeries. Check him out today at omahalaserdentistry.com. Discounts may be available for F3 Omaha members.
Now let's get back to the gloom.
We're back. Man, we got so many good-looking and great leaders in this group, man, and no exceptions here. We got our man Kickstand, and this guy recently site Q at Mission Forge, and has also recently taken on some West Sector Comms Q responsibilities. So, yeah, excited just to get your story, Kickstand, and if you would just take us back to the beginning. Who EH'd you? What was the first workout like? And how'd you get the name Kickstand?
All right. Knowing this question was coming, I've been thinking about it a lot lately. Back then, so my first, August 15, 2022. So pushing about 20 months in F3. So at the time, coming out of COVID, I was spending a lot of time on my bike. Doing some gravel bike races, things like that, which is where Kickstand came from. But my wife had been kind of on me for a while about doing more than just biking. But I was spending a ton of time out there by myself. And then I started going back to the gym, and it was like, I'm maxed. I'm 12 to 15 hours a week on my bike. I can't do this shit. Stuff by myself anymore. And so Superfly is a friend of mine, and I saw a post probably July of that year about F3 on his Facebook. Looked into it, thought about it for about a month, and then I reached out to Superfly, and so he EH'd me. Technically, he brought me into the group, but I kind of found it. I was out there actively looking for something.
Nice.
And I found F3.
Nice. The EH by your M almost. It sounds like.
Yeah. And I was getting pissed because it's like, I'm out here working my tail off every day. And you're spending a half hour on the Peloton, and you're telling me I need to do more.
Yeah. Hey, we got to listen to our M's, right? So,
yeah.
Walk us through that moment in the circle. Kind of what'd you say, and were there any other names thrown out?
I can't really remember. I've got lots of first impressions left. I can't really remember who I worked out with. It was a lot. And my first thought was, because Superfly is so energetic and so happy at all times. And my first thought is, if everybody's like this at 5:30 in the morning, this might be one. That was my first thought. Need to bring it down a little bit. But yeah, I don't remember much about it. It was at Mission Forge. It was a grinder. I remember being exhausted, more just from first time being up so damn early. Than the workout, and just getting in the center. Afterwards, Escobar and Yogi and I sat together at coffee at Green Bean. And so that kind of locked me in more than anything else. And I remember more about that conversation than the first beatdown.
Nice.
That's awesome. Did Superfly kick it with you during the workout, or was he doing his own thing?
He was with me most of the time. I can't remember. I have no recollection at all of who else was in our group other than him and I. But it was a 3-man grinder, and I have no idea who it was.
Well, what do you think of the workout overall? Your experience there?
It was good. Obviously, I came back. It was difficult, and I was in good endurance shape. And there was some sprinting that was not easy at all. And there was a lot of, at the time, there were still push ups in my mind. So I felt good that it was going to hit me up in ways that I wasn't working myself out at the time. And then once I realized not everybody quite has Superfly's energy, that made it a little bit better.
That's awesome.
But yeah.
So you got the name Kickstand, and I have to ask, just because I know it was out there on the Twitter sphere, but how long before the we added the prove it call sign, and then I think there was some banter between you and who we now refer to as OG Kickstand.
So the first day I went home and I laughed with my wife and did the kickstand thing. So I didn't do that at the circle, but I was joking around with her about it from Austin Powers, obviously, right off the bat. And then it was probably a month in where someone else mentioned it, and I'm like, okay, now I'm free to go. So it didn't take too long. I found out about the other kickstand probably I think it was November of that year, because I was looking at the schedule and I was a regular main stager by the time, and I see kickstands VQ. And I was like, what the hell? No one's mentioned this to me, but I guess I'm, whatever, I'm good. So I reached out to Bayside. He was like, I have no idea what you're talking about, because Animal House, we're doing a site queue swap that day.
Nice.
So then got a hold of Animal House, and he was like, "No, apparently there's 2 kickstands." So that's how I met him. Went out for the his VQ at main stage, but that's where it started, right then and there. And he went out.
Do we have protocols in place now to stop that from happening?
I try, if I'm around naming, I'm pulling out PaxNet. So there's an added way for that tool. So hopefully more people are checking it as we're naming people. I know we ran into it last week. We about added our third Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
So somebody caught it.
Yeah, I just got a text from Penny Marshall this morning. Apparently he was in Pax Minor as Marshall, and there's 3 other Marshalls, and so we updated that pretty quick. But yeah. Well, I love it, and I think the call sign, I just have to laugh every time. And it's even better that you came up with that with your M, because she kind of knows the reality there. So anyway,
yeah, lots of, I get when I'm in trouble at home, I get Jason.
Yeah.
So about 3 times a day.
Love it. Tell me the so biking, endurance, strength was good. Tell me your progression through. So you Mission Forge, did you do a Murph your first day? Okay.
No, I didn't. I'm glad I'm not. I started fairly slowly, going to Mission Forge, top rope, armory, those first couple weeks. Then I had a couple health things happen, got hurt a little bit physically and mentally. And so by kind of mid-September through mid-October, I didn't post that much. And then I got back on it kind of mid-October, and that's when I started posting every day. Mid-October, beginning of November, and kind of took off. So it was a little bit of a slow starter. It's funny, once or twice a week I was showing up for the first couple months.
Nice. Talk us through that sort of injury, mental battle sort of time frame. How'd you work through that?
Long story.
We got time.
Yeah. We got all the time in the world. Let me just open it all up to you, Flag. Pony. Uh, Earlier that year in 2022, so I started in August. My brother had been battling cancer, and it wasn't a good summer. He's still around, still fighting. My dad, in April of 2022, we were supposed to, wife and I and my boss were supposed to go to Mexico for a work trip that I had won. The day before we left, my dad decided to have a massive heart attack and needed a triple bypass. So he stole my vacation from me, one that was much needed. So you added that on, and then that summer I was riding and spending a whole lot of time in my own head. So when you're out there, I would go for 3 4 hour rides, and with everything else, it probably wasn't the greatest time. We bought a house, which was very, very stressful at the time that May, and moved in by Mission Forge. That was when mortgage rates were shooting up, and it was just crazy. Then my uncle, who's my godfather, got into a motorcycle accident, and I was holding shit all together. I started F3, done a couple races, and all year I had a race in mid September, uh, and I broke my bike tuning it, paying attention to a fantasy football podcast. So this was in September, like the week before this race. It was rainy. It was early September day, uh, and I just kind of freaking lost my
Hmm.
shit. Uh, for a lack of a better term, not initially. I think I was too calm because all of a sudden I'd been working since May towards this race, and now I just broke my bike myself instead of paying somebody to do work on it. And I just got really super. What came out of all of that summer was super bad
Hmm.
anxiety. We travel a lot to Miami. We were on our way to Miami. I was driving. I had a panic attack, first one of my life. And so that all was going on and figuring that out. I'd hurt my hip, is where that came from, kind of mid September while that was all going on. Got back from Miami, ended up in the ER because I wasn't sure if I was having a heart attack or a panic attack. That was end of September 2022, and that was a very expensive
Yeah.
trip. And then the next day after I had the ER visit, I got up early and I went for about a 6.5, 7 mile run, and my wife was so pissed at me. Uh, but then I just was like, all right, this is all mental, and started figuring that out, and F3, and it kind of went hand in hand. It's a good medicine for someone that's dealing with all of that, and so yeah, my pushing upwards coincided with when I really
Hmm.
dove into it hard, and I felt good after I spent a day in the hospital, and then I could turn around and go run that far, and I was like, all right, it's time to go. Let's
Yeah.
let's do this. Um,
Man,
and so yeah,
that's a lot to unpack, and appreciate you just sharing all that. And I think the reality is, like, I think you and I were maybe talking about this at lunch the other day, but there's a lot of us, right, that get in these scenarios where like everything is, whether it's stuff with the kids or your M or other family members, or I mean, think about the number of guys asking for prayers for family members with cancer right now.
yeah,
And it's just kind of trying to be the, hold everything up on your shoulders. And at some point, if you don't have the right outlets in place, there's a tendency to sort of crumble or not know what to do, so I love
yeah.
that you were willing to share that. Curious your thoughts on, you know, I don't know what specifically about F3 do you feel like made the difference for you? Was it the combo of things, or was it the relationships, or a spaced event, or what do you think was the key there?
I think a big part of it is starting your day right. I think that's a big part of it, just starting it in this positive environment, where people are real, and I think that's the big key. So you're going somewhere where sometime you're in this professional environment and you have to be somewhere else or around people that maybe a little bit judgmental. Whoever those relationships are, we all have those where we have to be part of ourselves and to start the day where I look at it like recess.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter, I like a good hard workout, but I'm still joking and saying inappropriate things no matter how hard the
Yeah.
workout is. But you get to let your hair down, for lack of a better term, and just be you and be real, and that helps quite a bit, and just starts your day
Mm.
right. A lot of guys say, if you do the hardest thing that you're going to do all day in the morning, I don't look at it like that. I kind of think it's doing the funnest thing you're going to do all day, and then trying to match that level of enjoyment, because you're hanging out with your buddies, and you're getting dirty, and it's and smelly, and you're working hard, and then you go to coffee after it, and you joke, and you fart and whatever else, and everybody has a good old time, and it's just a great way to get your mindset going for the rest of the
Yeah.
day.
Did you say and you fart? Is that what you? Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of parts, and that's the
Yeah,
fourth F.
for sure. I love it.
Farmer glow is the fifth F,
Okay.
I think, that I see in the globe. So,
Love it.
So there's got to be a different element too, right? The training itself from doing bike racing, which I would think would be very singular or solitary in its own right, and then you go and make this transition to working out with a bunch of guys, you know, exercising but participating in this grown-up recess or whatever. You think? I mean, did you make adjustments? Are you still training bike, gravel races, and stuff like that, or is this filling your cup kind of?
it does not fill my cup. I am doing some marathon and some long distance endurance training because I like that side. This summer, I'm not doing any bike races. Uh, Last summer, I crushed one, and when I was done with it, I did better than I thought. And when I was done with it, it was like, okay, I can't get any faster unless I put X more effort into it, and I didn't have any more
Mm.
effort, any more
Yeah,
time to give to it. So I felt good after that one. I had one more that I didn't even really get up for after that. So now I'm running a lot more. Got some things on the horizon that I want to do, but I always want to push myself and kind of just hit that limit and then restart and then hit that limit and keep finding that limit and have things to chase, and I have
nice.
medals.
Well, I think the more important question is your M happy with what you're doing since she was the one
Yeah.
pushing you?
Uh, Most days,
Mhm.
yes. We're on different sleep patterns. She started her own business so she wouldn't have to be in an office at 8 a.m. That was almost 15 years ago. And so she's kind of a 9:30 to 6:30, 7:30, 8 work
Mm.
person. And
Hmm.
so she doesn't always get as much time. As you guys know, you gotta get your sleep to get all this done, and that phone
Sure.
goes off pretty early. Uh, but I try and make some adjustments, and uh, I'm lucky enough with the stuff outside of the gloom that I can do running wise. My kids are 16 and 17. They're working, they're running wild, so I don't have that demand. And I get home and it's 5 o'clock, and she's got an hour and a half or 2 hours to work still. And I can go throw on my running shoes and go pound out some miles and be showered. And then I'm like, hey, honey, it's dinner
Yeah.
time. Come play with
Yeah.
me.
Kickstand is here, baby. I
So,
love it.
yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. So, am I understanding right? We kind of converted a biker to a runner. Is that
Yeah, I'm going to go
okay?
back. Uh, but I still want to do some triathlons. Um, I enjoy both a lot, biking and running. Either one training can get to be a drag,
Hmm.
right? If you're going on a 6 hour bike ride or a 3.5 hour run, they both suck at that point.
Right.
But with that said, I really like getting on my bike and getting out there for hours. I love taco rides. We've got a trip that we're planning down to a trail that's in Missouri wine country. So we'll ride 15 miles one day and drink wine, every 5 miles. And then the next day go the other way down the Katy Trail. And uh, I really enjoy my time out there. But I ran out of
Yeah.
time. I hit my max effort. So the enjoyment, the chase of finding where that stop isn't there as much.
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned you've got two kids that are in the prime age of not liking what their dad doing or thinks their dad is lame. What do they think about this grown up recess that you attend?
My son has been out once. That's Tetris. Um, he would come out more if it wasn't so early. I mean, he's
Hmm.
17. Uh,
Yeah.
he's getting up that early is not his thing by any stretch. Um, my daughter ignores it for the most part. Um, I do say they don't think that I'm lame. I get to spend good quality time with them. Hell, my daughter on her 16th birthday chose to go to dinner, and it was on Easter with me and my wife instead of hanging out with friends. So I got some
Yeah.
cred
Doing something
still.
right.
I've done some monkey humpers that went pretty viral on Gretna High School TikTok before. So I'm pretty well known.
That's awesome.
But with that said, yeah, they have jobs and friends and boyfriends and girlfriends, and so to see them before 7 o'clock at night, I have to schedule my quality time with
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. I imagine to get more of the high school age boys out, it would need to be co-ed, right? If there were girls there that early, they might come, but
I don't know because that's part of that's one thing that I really like. I made a joke about farting but you don't. You're with dudes, right? You don't have to
right.
worry about that, and you can be
Yep.
yourself. And there when I was first starting, I have a couple buddies at CrossFit. It's like, you know what? I don't want to have to think about impressing or not making a crew, whatever it
Hmm.
is. Keep it keep it separated. I
Yep.
like
There's a
it.
reason for sure. Well, hey, I want to lean back on something you said at the beginning. You mentioned kind of as we're thinking about fellowship, you mentioned that at the first coffee, you had a conversation with Yogi and Escobar. So talk us through, right? You knew Superfly, but how was that conversation? What was maybe made that meaningful? And then how'd you go about building some other key relationships?
Yeah. So Escobar and Yogi being excellent sight cues like they were, approached me at the end of the workout, asked the normal questions and then told me about coffee. And they made sure that they sat by me and just had a normal conversation and were just themselves and made sure that I felt
Hmm.
included. So right off the bat, that kind of group, started spending more and more time in the gloom with. My current shield lock, my quad pod, as we call ourselves, with Grizz, LB, and Old Hard Hat. Grizz, being around, I knew him, but actually on Thanksgiving Day, the day before Thanksgiving, Escobar queued at main stage and just destroyed us, right? Stairs, there was bear crawls up that crappy hill right by the stairs. There was 400s. It was a jerk thing to do the day before Thanksgiving. And then I went to the lab for the first time just because I knew that there was some sort of a turkey trot thing going on. Tea Party Farts Act. He was supposed to be queuing
Oh
that day,
no.
right? There was about 12 of us for the pre-run, and so Grizz, being Grizz and not knowing him, he just took charge, and we went on the pre-run. So spent a lot of time running with him that, and then show up to the beatdown, and little did I know, I just went and did a hard 5K for me, and I was like, oh, we're doing this again. um, and ran a lot with Grizz. Again, Tea Party fart sacked. So Grizz just threw down a quick string of pearls, and so was impressed by that. And then him and I started hanging out and seeing each other more and more in the gloom. LB, he had mentioned something about his job, and we started talking one morning and had lunch and started hanging out. And with Hard Hat, the first interaction I ever had with him, he gave me a dirty look back. It happened to be at the Thanksgiving turkey trot at the Labyrinth, and here comes this guy that was out pre-running up the hill by himself to meet up for the beatdown, and he's running at like a 6:15
With a vest
pace.
on, probably.
Yeah, and he's got shorts on, and it's cold as hell, right? And I made some smart ass comment about his calves and me. I would run with shorts if I had gams like that or something, something along those lines. And this look he gave me. But I just started spending more and more time with those guys and with the different challenges and centered around Mission Forge. And last year for the pre-run challenge, ran, I don't know, like 100 and some miles with Grizz, um, and just spending more and more and more time with them. And they were cute. All three of them were queuing a lot and always showing up to support them, and just getting along with the
Mhm.
guys, and got sucked more into their world. And it's a good group of guys. It's three absolute hammers and me. Um,
Yeah.
Amazing athletes in their own right, and then there's just me, and I'm just an idiot and will just do stupid things for no reason.
I love it. And hard hat, I mean, if you're gonna wear shorts like that all the time, I mean, what do you expect, right? Guys are gonna,
Those
yeah,
calves, man.
I
I
mean,
mean, how do you not
I
comment
think
on them?
secretly he's asking
Incredible.
for it. He wants the comments, right?
Yeah.
Talk through that, because I don't know that all of our packs know really how to form a shield lock or even the benefit. But what, from your perspective, like, how'd you guys formalize that into something where you could have accountability and some of the shield lock stuff?
So uh, it's kind of an interesting story because as I started making better and better friendships. But every one of the people that I was starting to make these connections with and better friendships with were more established, had been in, for a year or two or three at that point. Um, and so be it Escobar and Yogi and Chip and whoever else, or Grizz and those guys already had these shield locks that were in place. And there was almost, I had told my wife, I'm like, I wish I had a shield lock looking in, because everybody else I was hanging out with would mention it. It's almost like a little bit of guy jealousy, like, I guess. Uh, and so when I was in a different position than I think a lot of them, I didn't form one. I got asked to be part of Grizz and LB and Hard Hat. And it's been awesome because those guys had years of knowing each other. LB and Grizz worked together years ago. Hard Hat and LB have a relationship from college. And so I came in as the new guy. But it's meant the world to me, some accountability. I have been on a streak of fart sacking this
Mm,
week, and I have caught shit that I need about it every day from those guys. Uh, but it's coming from a place of good, because we want to hang out with each other. And when one of us isn't there at a beatdown, it's like, where the hell were you,
hmm.
buddy? So there's been that, but just being accepted in. But more importantly, they're the group of dudes that when I have a real question to ask or want a real opinion of a peer on how to handle an issue of any kind, be it familial, be it work, be it relationship, whatever it is, those guys, well, 85 to 90% of it is joking and being jackwads. Uh, when those questions are answered, I know I'm going to get real perspective from my peers on it. And so I think that's been the most valuable part.
Mm.
Uh, for an instance, my son had a friend that died last year. Kid that got killed. And how do you deal with that from a father's perspective? That first
Hmm.
loss, and so to be able to be like, hey, how the hell would you handle this, and get valuable insight back is
Mm.
invaluable.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then how did your friendships kind of stack up, or how do the shield lock stack up to what you were experiencing before F3? Were you the typical sifter guy and free to lead you going through? You've got your legacy friends, your IMS friends, and maybe a couple guys, or are you an Omaha guy that's been here and you're just known around town and you've got all these friends?
Uh, it's funny. So I do know a lot of people in town. Um, but the level of friendship is different. I've done sales and networking in this town for years and years and years. I went to high school here. A lot of people I went to college are here, but I don't spend very much time at all with people from high school. With college, those are great relationships, but they're very part-time relationships. I've got one old college roommate that's, great guy, but our lives are in a little bit different track, and we see each other every couple months. Other college roommates and other best friends from college are in Kansas City, so once or twice a year. Um, my people that I knew and were spending a lot of time with, through business relationships, they were good friendships, and I enjoyed happy hours with them. But there's also a level of
Mm.
indifference, right? Um, so the friendships that I have gained in F3 are equal to, like, when you start college and you're in a dorm, those guys that you meet for the first time where it's just you, they're that level of friendship. Um, and while those guys are still, those are my dogs, right? I'll go down to Kansas City, and within 5 minutes, it's the same thing as it was 20 years ago. But they're 3 hours drive away, and then they have busy lives and everything else going on. So yes, it's a different level. What's happened is, again, we only have so much time. I'm not spending as much time with these other relationships that I had in town, and focusing more on my F3 buddies. Even though that was unintentional, there has been some dudes that have been a little bit left in the
Hmm.
dust. Yeah, I've had a couple that I've thought have come out, a couple that have shown a couple times, and uh, but that I think was the reason why some of those friendships that aren't as prevalent today is because we only had so much in
Mm.
common. Um, they meant because of circumstance. You do a similar role in this company, and I kind of enjoy having happy hour with you. But outside of that, where was that commonality? Um, and I'd be out and telling people like, yeah, I got to go. Yeah, I'm only having water tonight because I've got a 3 hour bike ride. And you get that, what the hell is wrong with you look, right? Where with your F3 buddies, maybe not a 3 hour bike ride, but it will be, well, hey, you want somebody to join you? And so those things that I enjoy, and uh, the people that am surrounding myself with now enjoy doing, what most people consider stupid. Uh, they like doing that stupid stuff.
Mm. Yeah, all my legacy friends, as soon as I stopped drinking and getting high, it was sort of like we don't have anything in common. So I didn't have any. Yeah, yeah. Little did I know they
Yeah.
weren't really friends anyway. I was just supplying the high, I suppose.
Yeah, well, and even my college best friends, I was a different person, right? Our friendships are based around getting
Hmm.
wild. Um, and we still do, man. I went in December with some of my old college buddies and had an incredible time. But we drank most of Kansas City out of
Yeah,
beer, you know. So they're different style of friendships and relationships. Doesn't mean they're any less valuable, but
for sure.
you know,
Hey, as I'm hearing you talk about the sort of things you're able to discuss with your shield lock, it reminds me of where you started with the anxiety stuff. I mean, has it been helpful for the anxiety piece to have this group where you can kind of go to and get feedback or input, or how are they connected at all? I guess I don't know.
yeah, they are, because part of having anxiety is sometimes going down this making up future
Mm,
situations. Uh, when and it's funny, even something just as stupid as a text chain can distract you from stuff like that. So on that kind of day to day, yeah. But when I'm having real issues, yeah, 100%. Um, Honestly, I'm in such a better place emotionally, mentally, whatever, than a year and a half ago. But to have someone to bounce these things that us overthinkers
yeah,
keep churning over and over and over in your mind and get an answer, uh,
yeah.
it's
Or
valuable. And have people that you trust that you can go with, and that's where a lot of it is. It comes down to trust, and I can say this to this person, and they're not going to judge me, and they're going to give me honest feedback, and they're also not going to share this
yeah,
out.
yeah. Sometimes you just need somebody else to tell you like you're being stupid. Like, don't even. Why are you
Yeah,
even thinking about that, right? Or worrying about that?
yeah.
Are you or someone you know in the market to buy a new home? Well, if so, check out Major Team Mortgage at Exarban Mortgage. They specialize in home purchase and refinance home loans. Their mission is to purposely empower people to experience their good life through building wealth with real estate. Showing up in the gloom is no different than showing up for a conversation around your future of building wealth with real estate. Join the action economy and get in the game with Sasquatch. Text or call John at 402-212-0149 to schedule a time today. NMLS number 1392750, equal housing. Thinking about, fitness fellowship and then that third F, the faith piece. Wonder if you'd walk us through kind of your experience or journey from a third F perspective, and maybe if at all, how has F3 maybe helped you in that area?
Uh, so I grew up Catholic in an Irish Catholic household. Um, I left the Catholic faith many years ago because it was a lot simpler to get married to my first wife that way. And I've been a Lutheran for a strictly organized religious background. Um,
That's the right
I
choice there,
look
brother.
at, yeah, 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 yeah. Be very political here. I look at the faith aspect of F3 more generally. While I have a Judeo-Christian background and beliefs, I really, um, I really use it to have faith in others more than anything else, and that side
Hmm.
of it. And to be able to believe in others and their good intentions, and the faith in us to help, more than it has changed my personal belief structure. I am not. I am not someone that wears my faith on my sleeve, and I never have been. That hasn't changed with F3. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it has changed how I look at faith, though, and positively how I look at it in kind of a I don't know if it'd be a big F or a small F kind of way. I think a big F, but in that perspective,
Yeah. Well, there's something
yeah,
that comes up in like NA and AA, in terms of higher power and sort of finding that in the group conscience, right? So, I kind of hear you saying like seeing all these guys that are all trying to better themselves, sort of helps you to have more faith almost in humanity, right? Where everything on the news is terrible, but you see it in this group that there are still good people trying to get better and trying to help. Am I hearing you right?
Yeah, yeah. I think you nailed it on the head. I enjoy that aspect of F3 a lot. It does. It allows me to have more hope with humanity. I think would be maybe something I'd look at it. I'm not like a lot of these, and even though I'm aging, where I think after my generation everything is crap, I've got a lot of faith in the young and the high schoolers and the college students, and what we have coming up. And then it just shows, and F3 helps shows that there is good. There's people that care about more than themselves. Um, and I think social media changes that world perspective where everything looks in, and people just are stuck in this little bubble and they're not sure if they're still
Yeah.
good. Uh, and I'm a big believer of doing good, and that helps. F3 helps boost that faith.
Heck yeah. Have you had a chance, because the third F is kind of like there's this, believing in something outside of yourself, and then kind of this other half of the third F in terms of like community service type of stuff. Have you had a chance to do any of those events through F3?
Yeah, Heartland Hope. We volunteered as a family a handful of times.
Nice.
It's very important to me that my kids don't forget uh, uh, what they have.
Yeah.
So that's very important to me. So we volunteered there, volunteered time and ability to help raise funds for this and that, be it Project Pink, helping put that on to even the T-shirts that I helped sell. Um, even that we're charging an extra bit of money to raise money for Brick Builder or whatever that we're giving the money to for that, or Project Pink or whatever it is. But yeah, I really enjoy. I've always liked to give back. I did it through coaching for a lot of years and things like that. But I think it's critical for my kids live in a pretty big bubble that I've created, right? And have grown up in a certain Southwest Omaha perspective that every now and then you need to prick a little bubble. So to be able to see them give back and enjoy it, and it's been pretty fun. Yeah. When my daughter showed up the first time not happy to Heartland Hope, and when we left, her guilt was wrapped around having a Starbucks drink with her, and just the realization that she was showing off, the fact that she can do something like that, and that we've got disposable income, and that feeling stuck with her, and it was pretty powerful.
That's awesome. Yeah, especially because you're from the same Moen family that does all the toilets and porcelain bathroom stuff, right? So you've got kind of this empire, right?
So,
No, I'm kidding.
So when the Moens came over from Norway, the smart ones stopped in New York, right? And they created this Moen empire. The dumb ones went to Minnesota and they cut down logs, and they did. That's about all they did. Have I ever told you that I'm from Minnesota? So with that being said, I am not part of that empire.
No, just had to give you crap there. I love it.
Yeah.
No, I think that's awesome. And just, and pulling your 2.0s into that aspect of things has a huge impact for generations, right? I love it.
Yeah.
What, as you think about kind of the leadership aspect of things, right? So kind of reinvigorating male community leadership. We like to do that through VQs and, site Q roles, other sort of leadership opportunities. Walk us through your experience there. Do you feel like those things are working, or what, how'd you experience those?
So my stab into leadership, I guess, with F3, started with VQ, which was a last minute thing. Yogi was traveling, or no, he broke his hand skiing. So VQ last minute. My second Q was again replacing for Yogi last minute. So there was a certain role going there. But Escobar asked myself to take over the Mission Forge flag. And that would have been in January. So I hadn't been around that long and thought that something like that could be coming, but not quite that
Mm-hmm.
quickly. Um, but at the same time, I remember telling Grizz before it happened, and he was kind of shocked. I said, it's not that big of a deal for me when he had asked, about my thoughts on it. But what I meant is I enjoy leadership. I've always given leadership away, tried to be a leader however I can. So to take the flag and hop into leadership for me was kind of second
Mm.
nature. Um, I enjoyed it, being a site Q, but more importantly, my goal the whole time was to find the next leaders and to be more of a steward of that leadership role, right? I wanted to grow Mission Forge, but more importantly, identify the next group of people that I thought could keep the same culture, and and find the next group of leaders. And so I probably started trying to identify the next IQ like April, May, and I took over the flag in
Mm.
March. Uh, so I think I had my eyes on someone, and then Barbed Wire came into the group and noticed him right away. And he had not been around for very long before I was like, look, bro, just so you know, there was no asking, it was
Mm-hmm.
telling. Same thing. And then Anonymous started coming around and I identified them. And then there's a whole other group of great leaders that are coming up that started in the last couple months through Mission Forge. Um, that I'm still trying to encourage to grab what they have the potential of grabbing. Uh, uh, guys like Shark Week and Boob Tube who've EH'd 5, 6, 7 guys and are creating and changing some of the culture in the Southwest around them and are potential great leaders. So set up those next generations was always most important
Yeah.
uh,
You know,
to
I
me.
just queued it at Mission Forge, and
I know I fart
you can
fast.
tell there's a lot of new guys because there were 21 guys there. That's like a record for
Yeah,
me. So there were, and I think we only did 5 burpees, so it wasn't too bad.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a great group of dudes
Mm-hmm.
that are there regularly, and it's changed. Um, I have not missed very many Mondays. Um, I have not missed very many I've been to one other Monday site,
Mm.
and that was a site Q swap with Boundary Line. Even since a couple weeks ago when I passed the flag, I haven't started expanding out yet. It's 6 blocks from my house. That's convenience, but I like the group of guys, and uh, I like what it has become, and who's there, and it's completely turned
Yeah.
over. And it all goes back to Yogi and Escobar. They built that thing. They did a hell of a job. They instilled a culture. Um, and just wanted to continue that on, and I wanted to see some growth, and seeing some growth, and I wanted new people, and I wanted people to be comfortable making it their home. And there's some awesome dudes that are. I mean, you can tell guys, and they group up, and you look at these different groups in the West that are excited, and I think they need to be identified and they need to be spoken to early, and keep them excited and keep them moving forward, and pushed. I mean, you can run through a bunch of them. Look at like a guy like Star Lord and everything he's doing in the Northwest, even though he's a little bit
Mm-hmm.
newer. That's destined for leadership. You can tell, or there's so many of them in the Southwest. Be it Boob Tube and Shark Week, those guys are kind of paired up. But yeah, there's so many great future leaders, and we need to hold on to those
Heck
guys.
yeah. Yep. Hey, Sticky, if you're listening, move back, brother. We got a role for you. I do think he's an avid listener, but curious,
But yeah,
your time as a site Q, maybe just give us or maybe just your time in F3, but like top 3 pieces of advice or things for guys that you think they ought to do to be successful.
uh, don't be afraid to try the pre stuff, be it Murphs, be it runs, be it whatever. Don't get in shape to get into shape. Especially after a couple of months, it gives you that next challenge. I try, and after a guy's been posting for 2 or 3 to 4 months, push him to push himself, so you can continue to feel that acceleration. Um, that would be probably number one. Two is find your group of people, and be active about it, be pointed about it, but find your group of people because they're out
Mm-hmm.
there. However you define that group of people, and however you what characteristics you're looking for, they're out there. Um, and kind of third, I heard a COT from Crowdsource not too long ago where he mentioned letting his freak flag
Mm.
fly. So let the freak flag fly. Be yourself, man. Don't hold back. You're in an environment that wants people to be themselves, and I think when you're tired, when you're dirty, when you're wet, when you're sore, it just creates this environment where people are open and non-judgmental. So be
Mm.
yourself. Don't hold back. Sorry, Siri. Siri was talking to me for a minute. But be yourself. Be your genuine person and who you want to be, and just come out and do your best, man. And that's all people want to see. People want to see people doing their best, and encourage that, and push them to
Heck
it.
yeah. I always think of the iron sharpens iron kind of verse, and like iron sharpens iron, but iron doesn't sharpen this plastic cover that you put over the iron, right? So like
Yeah,
take that off, let your freak flag fly if that's how you want
yeah.
to do it, but just be yourself, because that's how you get sharpened through this group. So I love that. Curious, Kickstand, is there anything else that sort of comes to mind that you would want to share that maybe we haven't covered or talked through?
Uh, not too much. It's been a journey that I am more than happy that I've undertook, and I plan on showing up for a while. Um, and yeah, man, it's a hell of a great decision for me. It's helping push me in other ways that I've wanted, but for me, it's the fitness is two, fellowship is by far a one, and um, man, there's some awesome relationships to be had out there. There's some incredible people, and so just dive into that this world, and I'm gonna keep diving in. Looking forward to it.
Heck yeah.
Uh, you know, um, for strictly prayers, always my brother's he battles, and he's you know been battling for a long ways. We've gotten some hopefully what some good news coming up, and you can always pray for him. I didn't mention my older brother, typical little brother older brother relationship, and he's always been a hammer and someone else I chase. And so for him to, I just hope he can get back, and
Mm.
I can go I can go beat his ass in a race or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, always him.
Heck yeah. And we'll text you to make sure you're posting too. That sounds like an
Yeah,
item in there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love it, man. Just certainly appreciate it. I'm excited to see what you do as a additional comms queue. I think you got some newsletter stuff going on and some other pieces that will really help help the group. So just appreciate you.
Yeah. Well, I want to go back to what you said earlier. And, you were kind of describing it as maybe atypical to what the PsyQ does, identifying someone that, your successor so quickly. And I want to, I think that's the most important part of the Site Q. I mean, sure, you want to keep it alive, and then you come in as a Site Q, and you've got these grand ideas of, I'm going to have the most VQs, I'm going to grow this sucker so big that we're going to have to starfish off of this location. But really, the most important part is obviously showing up, keeping it alive, but then finding the successor, right? Sharing that experience and promoting leadership. So I just commend you for doing that. And you're kind of describing it as like, well, that's a little atypical to look for people that early, but I would encourage other Site Qs to keep their eye out. We just interviewed someone yesterday who, brought up and said we should have more conversations about promoting guys quicker and identifying guys. It may not be you need to be a Site Q for a year. Maybe it's 6 months and this guy is primed and ready to go. And I just love that you really put that to action and it started looking early. And it's for the benefit of the guys. So I just really appreciate what you said there. And I think that should be highlighted.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, you can tell guys, and they group up, and you look at these different groups in the West that are excited, and I think they need to be identified and they need to be spoken to early, and keep them excited and keep them moving forward and pushed. I mean, you can run through a bunch of them. Look at like a guy like Star Lord and everything he's doing in the Northwest, even though he's a little bit newer. That's destined for leadership. You can tell, or there's so many of them in the Southwest. Be it Boob Tube and Shark Week; those guys are kind of paired up. But yeah, there's so many great future leaders, and we need to hold on to those.
Well, yeah, and I get worried that if we don't move quick enough, are we failing to give someone an opportunity? Someone that comes to mind is Sticky Bandit, right? A guy that was on a lot of people's short lists, and he moved away before he even got a real chance to take it over. He was definitely deserving, and he was primed for a role somewhere. And is that untapped potential? Yeah, maybe.
Those guys.
Yeah.
But well, yeah, and I get worried that if we don't move quick enough, are we failing to give someone an opportunity? Someone that comes to mind is Sticky Bandit, right? A guy that was on a lot of people's short lists, and he moved away before he even got a real chance to take it over. He was definitely deserving, and he was primed for a role somewhere. And is that untapped potential? Yeah, maybe.
Hey, Sticky, if you're listening, move back, brother. We got a role for you. I do think he's an avid listener, but curious, your time as a Site Q, maybe just give us or maybe just your time in F3, but like top 3 pieces of advice or things for guys that you think they ought to do to be successful.
Don't be afraid to try the pre stuff, be it Murphs, be it runs, be it whatever. Don't get in shape to get into shape. Especially after a couple of months, it gives you that next challenge. I try, and after a guy's been posting for 2 or 3 to 4 months, push him to push himself, so you can continue to feel that acceleration. That would be probably number 1. 2 is find your group of people and be active about it, be pointed about it, but find your group of people because they're out there. However you define that group of people and what characteristics you're looking for, they're out there. And kind of third, I heard a COT from Crowdsource not too long ago where he mentioned letting his freak flag fly. So let the freak flag fly. Be yourself, man. Don't hold back. You're in an environment that wants people to be themselves, and I think when you're tired, when you're dirty, when you're wet, when you're sore, it just creates this environment where people are open and non-judgmental. So be yourself. Don't hold back. Sorry, Siri. Siri was talking to me for a minute. but be yourself. Be your genuine person and who you want to be, and just come out and do your best, man. And that's all people want to see. People want to see people doing their best, and encourage that, and push them to
Heck
it.
yeah. I always think of the iron sharpens iron kind of verse, and like iron sharpens iron, but iron doesn't sharpen this plastic cover that you put over the iron, right? So like,
Yeah.
take that off,
Yeah.
let your freak flag fly if that's, you know, how you want to
Yeah.
do it, but just be yourself, because that's how you get sharpened through this group. So I love that. Curious, Kickstand, is there, you know, anything else that sort of comes to mind that you would want to share that maybe we haven't covered or talked through?
You know, not too much. It's been a journey that I am more than happy that I've undertook, and I plan on showing up for a while. Um, and yeah, man, it's a hell of a great decision for me. It's helping push me in other ways that I've wanted, but for me, it's the fitness is two, fellowship is by far a one, and um, man, there's some awesome relationships to be had out there. There's some incredible people, and so just dive into that this world, and I'm gonna keep diving in. Looking forward to it.
Heck yeah.
Man, certainly thankful for your story, and grateful that you've had such a good opportunity and you're willing to share it here. You know, kind of, we wrap this up with any thoughts or prayers for you, or any words of encouragement. If we see you out in the gloom, what can we say? Nudge you
You
a little
know,
bit.
for strictly prayers, always my brothers, he battles, and he's, you know, been battling for a long ways. We've gotten some hopefully with some good news coming up, and you can always pray for him. I didn't mention my older brother, typical little brother older brother relationship, and he's always been a hammer in someone else I chase. And so for him I just hope he can get back, and I can go beat his ass in a race or something. But yeah, always him.
Heck yeah. And we'll text you to make sure you're posting too. That sounds like
Yeah.
Yeah,
item in there.
yeah.
I love it, man. Just certainly appreciate it. I'm excited to see what you do as a additional comms queue. I think you got some newsletter stuff going on and some other pieces that will really help the group. So just appreciate you. Let's do a little Namerama to wrap it up here. I'll start. Brandon Fleethardy, 38, The Plague.
The Plague. John Weber, 32, Pony Express.
Pony. Hey.
Jason Moen, 44.
Kickstand. Prove it. I love it. Did the OG Kickstand go to your VQ? I meant to ask you that.
No, he did not.
Okay. Well,
it was very cold. So it was the day after Christmas in 2022. And that's where we had that Friday. That was a Monday. So Friday was that convergence at Fancy Feast. It was like negative 47.
Yeah.
So it's still like negative 15 or 18 on my VQ.
Wow.
But still had 16, 17 guys there.
Yep.
So can't complain. It was cold.
But you guys are good now, right? OG Kickstand and the new Kickstand.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
He's a great guy.
I love it.
He's a great guy.
Appreciate you, brother. Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for your time.